If former Prime Minister John Howard has pointed the finger at Anthony Albanese for Australia's rising levels of anti-Semitism, saying that he's failed to denounce in unequivocal terms the horror of the October 7 attacks. Stephen, imagine you're a school teacher giving Albanese a grade on how he's led the nation on this issue. What would you give him?
Look, I've been lucky enough to travel to Israel a couple of years ago with John Howard, and we had an excellent trip. We met many people. We had lots of public and private discussions, lots of conversations between ourselves, and it was an excellent trip. But I think John, unfortunately, just hasn't kept up with the facts on this one. It is demonstrable that on the day after, the Prime Minister gave an unambiguous, unequivocal condemnation of Hamas and what happened on the 7th. So I just think John Howard has unfortunately missed that part out of his reading, and the facts don't support what John has said. And I'm sorry for that. As I said, I had a great time. I spent wonderful few days with John and Jeanette, but on this one, he's just wrong, factually wrong, which is disappointing because John Howard was a Prime Minister that many Australians admire.
So in terms of handling the issue of anti-Semitism and the leadership that Albanese's given, just quickly, if you had to grade him, what would you give him? Would you give him an A?
I think he's got to find a line between wanting to ensure that there's an absolute condemnation of anti-Semitism, and on every occasion that he's had to, he has. So I would give him an A. And he's also got to legitimately be critical of the path that the Israeli government are going down. And he's not Robinson Crusoe. You've got more than half of Israel wanting Netanyahu gone. You've got Benny Gantz and the Israeli Defence Minister in this unity cabinet say, you've got 3 weeks to tell us how we're getting out of this mess now. We want to know what the exit path from this is. So across Israel, there is an enormous amount of desire for Netanyahu to resign. And while the Prime Minister hasn't said that, I'll quite happily say I'm on the same side as Benny Gantz, the Israeli Defence Minister, and more than half the Israeli population in wanting Netanyahu gone.
Michael, how would you rate Anthony Albanese's leadership in the issue of anti-Semitism?
An E minus. Stephen shouldn't be disappointed in John Howard. Don't be disappointed, Stephen. John Howard was absolutely right. He was 100% right. If Albanese, James, was so opposed to anti-Semitism, why isn't anyone in the left in Australia listening to him? What influence has he had? Anti-Semitism has risen since October 7 in this country. No one's listening to Albanese. If he's such an influential person, he's a Prime Minister, he's spoken against it, no one's listening to him. E's about the right number. What should he have done? He should have wrung the heads of those universities, those hopelessly weak chancellors and vice-chancellors, and demanded that they take action to have all these anti-Jewish, these Jewish hatred signs taken down, that they take action to stop people yelling intifada and from the river to the sea, these statements of Jewish hatred. He should have rung the leaders of the Australian business community and said, I want a full statement from you people condemning anti-Semitism. In the same way, by the way, that the business community were falling over themselves to donate money to The Voice. How many of these public companies, by the way, have issued statements condemning anti-Semitism? How many of these people have donated $2 million? How many? Zero. Where are these chancellors and vice-chancellors? Where's David Thodey? David Thodey was the head of Telstra, wasn't he? He's the chancellor at Sydney University. I haven't heard a peep from you, David. I haven't heard a peep from David Gonski, who's the chancellor at UNSW, or my friend Julie Bishop, by the way, who's the chancellor at the ANU. Where are the people? Where are the university leadership and where's the business leadership? Jennifer Westacott and a few others that came out were good, but I'll tell you, the main university's leadership has been disgraceful. No one is listening to Albanese, and why would they? He speaks out of both sides of his mouth. The statements he's made, the things he's done in relation to Israel, Palestine, unrefunding, etc., taking refugees, up to 2,000 refugees from Gaza. How many refugees have Egypt taken, who are right next door? Why are we taking refugees from Gaza, by the way? Egypt should be taking them. Jordan should be taking them. Lebanon, Syria, the countries that border Israel and the disputed territories. No, they've taken none. So let's be frank about Albanese. He is not a friend of Israel. He is not a friend of the Jewish community. He's let his ministers run amok and his members of parliament run amok. He's got that Senator Fatima Payton. Need we say more, mate?